And as I bring my colleague Mike on to give a few concluding remarks here, I wanted to go back to something I said at the beginning of the live stream about how the pro-life movement has a new challenge to face in the weeks and months ahead. And that challenge is the fact that the World Health Organization, Health Canada, the federal government of the United States, the federal government of Canada, the provincial government of every single Canadian province, all of them have said that abortion is essential, and we need to do a lot to ensure that people recognize what abortion is. And you've heard all sorts of tips on how to do that throughout this live stream. But I think that if we look at this COVID-19, the entire situation with the lockdown and the quarantine, what's really interesting is it's highlighted how schizophrenic of a society we actually are. Because the argument being put forward day after day after day was we need to essentially lock down the economy. We need to shut everything down. Why? It was just to protect the vulnerable, those who most needed our help. In fact, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who is the most pro-abortion prime minister ever to live at 24 Sussex, has actually stated that every single life matters, and that's why these measures were so important. And of course, we as the pro-life movement know that when people say every life matters, they don't actually mean all lives. And it's therefore up to us in the pro-life movement to show people who they're missing, to show people who they're leaving out. Because once we introduce this reality to them, as we've seen with the COVID-19 lockdowns, we are actually willing to do a lot to protect the vulnerable. And we need to start making sure that that applies to preborn children as well. So now I'll turn it over for some concluding remarks to my colleague, Maaike.
Yeah, so for those of you who have been with us the entire time, or maybe people who will be watching this later, what we've done together is, first of all, face the awful reality of abortion, to remind ourselves why it's so important that we become active. We've also listened to courageous pro-life politicians, and we've heard from those involved in the political arm of the movement how we can make a difference there. We heard about the phenomenal work that's being done in Toronto, both educationally and pastorally, and heard Victoria's beautiful testimony about how having her daughter changed her life for the better. And we've heard stories like that so many times. Now, what I wanted to do with you as we wrap up is share something with you that I keep in my office as a visual reminder of why we do this work. Some of you who've heard me speak before may have seen it already, but I thought it would be good to share it again. And what they are, I will show them here, is medical forceps, which have been used before to end the lives of little children. To many children in Canada, this is the only touch they'll ever feel, the cold steel of medical forceps. And you might be able to see the sharp ridges, the teeth of the forceps that are used to clamp down on a child's limbs and twist them off and pull them out. Now, these forceps both symbolize the horror of abortion as well as the hope for change. Why? Because they show us what happens to children behind clinic doors and hospital doors. But the reason that they are in our office is because pro-lifers were faithful in prayer and in action. These forceps won't ever kill preborn children again. They are now an artifact. They tell us about what they did in the past, but they will not kill children today or in the future. And so that encourages us, that spurs us on to make sure that more abortion instruments like these forceps will become artifacts. We'll once speak of a time when little children were killed, but that will be in the past. But that will only happen with God's blessing if we do what we can to speak up for preborn children who don't have a voice, to make a difference in the city of Toronto, the greater Toronto area, or wherever you are and are watching from, and that we order our lives around helping these children. That's often difficult. It might be uncomfortable or inconvenient, but that is asking so little from us compared to what's at stake for preborn children. And so we hope that this live stream has been both a way to encourage you, but also to equip you to do just that in the place that you have in our society. Again, if you're looking for practical ways to make a difference, go take a look at our blog post at endthekilling.ca, which outlines 7 different things that you can do. So there are plenty of ways you can make a difference, so that together we will work to speak on behalf of these children, so that their lives will be saved, so that people will be spared from the pain of abortion, and that Canada will indeed become strong and free again. I'll turn it over to you, Jonathan.
I just want to thank everybody who tuned in for the live stream, for watching, whether you watched part of it or all of it. We really do appreciate you taking the time, and these videos will be available later for anybody who wants to send one of them to one of your friends. I know a lot of different opportunities to get involved have been listed in every imaginable area of the pro-life movement. We heard how you can get involved in a crisis pregnancy center with Mary Helen Mose in the GTA. Again, she does absolutely phenomenal work. You can get involved with the work of We Need a Law or ARPA Canada, supporting some of the pro-life politicians that you got to see on this live stream. You can volunteer with Toronto Right to Life and CCBR. We're out on the streets seeking to change public opinion, or you can support any of that work. And I know some of our supporters are actually watching this live stream, and I want to give a special shout out to them, because at the end of the day, the pro-lifers you see on live streams like this are really just the tip of that iceberg. I'm sure many of you have seen that poster before, where there's a little tip of the iceberg, and then underneath the water, there's this enormous mass. And that's essentially what every pro-life organization is, and ours is no different. A very small group, although a growing group of people who are out there on the streets having the conversations, running the organization, but then hundreds and hundreds of people who use their hard-earned dollars to save babies. And without them, this activism couldn't happen. So I just wanted to end by saying to all of our supporters who are watching that without you, we couldn't do any of this. And we're profoundly grateful for the support that you've given to the pro-life movement over the years. So again, you can head over to endthekilling.ca. You can check out this live stream later on if you want to go back and see what anybody has said. And just to reiterate, thank you so much for joining us. And please do enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon or Friday evening.